There are a lot of things that need to be considered if we want to rank a few characters together. Achievement, skill, likability, or even how well the character is written. In most cases, personal opinion is always involved when someone tries to rank the character. That's why it's impossible to make a tier list that could satisfy everyone. In this video, I will try to rank 65 different characters as fairly as possible. However, feel free to disagree in the comments section. Let's start with the one who already left us, Horikita Manabu. Manabu is the type of character who holds the rule tightly. He has a certain type of aura and wisdom that make a lot of people respect him, including Ayanokoji. He is wise beyond his age, and his word even managed to make Ayanokoji change the way he live. He has incredible physical ability and manages to graduate as the leader of Class A. He seems perfect from the outside, but his action toward his sister in the first volume is not something that could be praised. He also never showed any remarkable intelligence trait, such as outsmarting his opponent. That's why I will put him in Tier B. Next is his secretary, Takabana. She was a typical Class A student who was proud and looked down on others, especially students from Class D. There was actually nothing remarkable from her. She even ended up as a burden for her class because she became the target of Nagumo in the mixed training camp. However, after that incident, she learned to keep her mouth shut and act more properly in front of Ayanokoji. For that development, I will put her in Tier C. Next is Nagumo. A lot of people compare him to Manabu as an equal, but Nagumo himself feels that he is inferior compared to Manabu. There is no way to know the truth, but looking at everything that Nagumo had done, I think he actually did his job as student council president better than his predecessor. His skill was unmatched, which is proven by holding the highest overall ability rating in the whole school. He is evil in his own way, and that makes him perfect as an antagonist. However, because of the disappointing conclusion that he received, I will have to put him in Tier A, almost S tier. From the same grade, there is Asahina Nazuna. Asahina was never described as someone smart, strong, or any other things that would make the others value her highly. She is just a friendly, cheerful senior who will become irrelevant if it's not for Nagumo. I don't have any strong feelings toward her, but it's not like there is something wrong with her, so I will put her in Tier C. Next is Kiriyama. He is a former leader of Class A, skilled enough to become student council vice president, and capable enough to be trusted by Manabu. However, Kiriyama was a disappointment. At first he strongly showed desire to overthrow Nagumo, but at the end he was too busy to secure his own chance to graduate as part of Class A. In the second year arc, he had already become Nagumo lackey. I almost put him in Tier D, but his action in Volume 9 of the second year arc saved him. At least, at the end of his regime, he was brave enough to stop Nagumo from wasting more points for his own amusement, so I will put him in Tier C. And the last from their grade, Ryuuen Fuka. She was introduced as a very smart and athletic student by having an A+ in academic and physical ability in the overall ability app. She was a free spirit who didn't bow under Nagumo rule. Some people compared her to Koenji, but Ryuuen is just a disappointment because she never did anything even though she has the power to do it. After helping Ayanokoji in a fight against Tsukishiro, Ryuuen never did anything that needed to be remembered. She was just there, praising Ayanokoji, and then left. She was truly a disappointment after Kinugasa introduced her with the highest hype possible. That's why I put her in Tier D. And now let's move to the new students, starting from the most forgotten one, Utomiya Riku. There's nothing much to talk about Utomiya. He is a responsible person who sometimes takes charge of his class. He was shown to have a good sense of friendship and care about his classmates. He was hinted to be strong and bravely confronted Hosen a few times, but he never did something important or took part in a crucial plot. The only time he became part of something was when he was somehow involved in Yagami expulsion, but even that time Ishigami and Sakurako did most of the job. I am hoping for more from Utomiya in the future, but for now I will put him in Tier D. Utomiya classmate, Sakurako Tsubaki, has more impressive achievements to talk about. She was shown to be an excellent strategist when she could command a lot of first-year students in the uninhabited island exam. She took a crucial part in expelling Yagami by confronting Sato and indirectly told Ayanokoji about the White Room student. She kind of lost her purpose in the story at this point, but every time she appears, there is always something to talk about. She is a great character even with a little screen time, so I will put her in Tier B. She has the potential to become A or S tier depending on the future development. And the next one is Kazuomi Hosen, the main antagonist in Volume 1 of the second year arc. Hosen was introduced as a delinquent with a chaotic personality similar to Ryuuen, but with a stronger physical ability and tendency to use violence. He was great and intimidating in the first volume, but after that he quickly became a side character with no important role. Even on the uninhabited island, his plan was just to simply challenge Ayanokoji in a fistfight, which failed miserably. After that, all of his screen time is just annoying, so I will put him in tier C. Next we have Yagami Takuya, the best 5th generation White Room student. For a man who was supposed to become the big villain, Yagami didn't leave any strong impression. He did a lot of impressive things, such as memorizing all students' data from the Ayanokoji grade, expelling Utomiya classmates, and manipulating Kushida to become his pawn, but Yagami really didn't leave any strong impression. Probably because all his plans never worked, or because he was always hiding behind the scenes. However, Yagami is actually quite a complex character. He loudly screamed that he would kill Ayanokoji, but never confronted him directly and just used other people to deal with him, because deep down he was scared of Ayanokoji. He never acknowledged it, but his action clearly told so. He had great potential, but his sudden expulsion made me put him in tier C. The other White Room student, Amasawa Ichika, is a more enjoyable character. She is different from Yagami, who was blinded by jealousy, and different from Ayanokoji, who is devil-hearted. Ichika is more human compared to the other two, but still could be terrifying if she wanted to. There is no doubt about her skill, and even if she is only a side character for now, she will definitely have an important role later as a White Room student, so I will assign her in tier B. Nanase Tsubasa is hard to rate. She had shown a high academic and physical ability unbefitting of Class D, a good manner, and a lot of mystery behind her eyes. She was a support character in the first volume and played a bigger role in the uninhabited island exam. However, just like any other first year, she lost her purpose after the island exam was over. Her character seems a bit inconsistent for me, starting from her trying to expel Ayanokoji, turning into defending him, and now completely losing touch with him. I believe she will also play a bigger role in the future like Ichiko, but I will assign her to tier C. And the last first year is Ishigami Kyo. Honestly, he is no different than any other first-year student who lost their role after Yagami got expelled. This is proof that all the first-year new characters are so underdeveloped. Ishigami himself didn't do much in the story. He is the one who initiated the plan to expel Yagami, but Ayanokoji ended up doing most of the job. The only thing that made me not putting Ishigami in the lower tier is because of his special secret connection with Atsuomi, so I will put him in tier C. And now let's talk about the adults. Ayanokoji Atsuomi is definitely the biggest villain in this series. Atsuomi is the one who is responsible for creating Ayanokoji the way he is. The way he pulls the string behind the scenes with unmatched cruelty is definitely astonishing, and that makes him perfect as the bad guy. Even with so little screen time, his presence pushed the story further more than anyone ever did. In Volume 0, we got to know what kind of man Atsuomi is. He was born into a very poor family, but that made him more ambitious than anyone else. He seeks power, and will do anything to achieve it, even if it's destroying his own son. I know he is a really bad guy, but I will put him in the S tier. Tsukishiro is close to Atsuomi in terms of character. He was introduced as a dangerous person with power, skill, connection, charisma, and a lot of tricks. Volume 0 gives us more information about Tsukishiro. He is a double agent who will work with anyone without any loyalty, as long as it benefits him. He was described as jack of all trades, which means a person who could do anything, even assassination. He hides more secrets than what he told, but the way he leaves the school is kind of anticlimactic. So, I will put him in tier A. Chairman Sakayanagi is easy to rate. He is a typical kind and responsible adult. He didn't bow in front of Atsuomi, which showed that he had enough power to hold his ground. He took a big part in founding the White Room, but soon regretted his choice because of the way Atsuomi ran that place. That regret is probably one of the reasons he accepted Ayanokoji to ANHS. I want to put him in tier A, but in the latest volume, it turns out Chairman Sakayanagi must bow in front of the Prime Minister presence. Not only that, he even let Kijima interfere in the special exam, even though it's absolutely against school rules. For now, I will put him in tier B, and let's see what happens in the future. Now we move to the teacher characters. Mashima is definitely the best among the teachers. He is a responsible adult who truly cares about his students. He is even willing to bend some rules just to make sure his students' safety is not at risk, which was shown in how he interfered in the Ichinose battle against Ryuuen. He is even willing to help Ayanokoji fight Tsukishiro and even help Ryuuen to expel Yagami. There is nothing bad about him, but it seems a bit too much to put him in S tier. So, I will put him in tier A. Next we got Hoshinomiya. To tell you the truth, she is bad in every single way possible. She is not a good teacher, and definitely not a fine adult. Her motivation to become a teacher is just to get revenge on Chabashira, because she believes Chabashira is ruining her future by causing their class downfall in the past. That is actually pathetic, because instead of trying her best to achieve a good future, she chose to further destroy her future by choosing a job that she doesn't want to. That's why I will put her in tier D. Chabashira is a bit better than Hoshinomiya. Even though her motivation to become a teacher was because of regret, at least she had already become a proper teacher in the later volumes. She had done bad things, such as threatening Ayanokoji to contribute in the special exam, but her character development at least makes her worth being placed in tier B. And don't forget, without Chabashira threatening Ayanokoji, we will never get the famous Tool monologue. There are other teachers such as Sakagami and Shibo, but we know almost nothing about them, and it's not like they were important characters, so I will put them in the new don't care tier. And now let's move to the main dish, starting from Sakayanagi and her classmates. Sakayanagi is definitely an S-tier character, with her smug face and princess vibe that make you feel so lowly in front of her. Other than physical ability, she is capable in a lot of areas such as outsmarting, manipulating, and even acting like a maiden in love. However, Sakayanagi is not a very good leader because she put her personal feelings above her classmates. She is a selfish person, and that lowers her value as a leader, so I will put her in tier A. Sakayanagi's right leg, Komuro Masumi, is not an interesting character. She was just a typical cold-hearted loner without any explanation about her character. I still didn't understand why she was placed in Class A. Other than her hobby of stealing beer, I don't find anything interesting. At least she was capable enough to run the Sakayanagi order, so I will put her in tier C. In terms of character, Hashimoto is way better written than Komuro. He was bullied in the past, so he believes the only way for him to survive is by sticking with the winner. He has no loyalty, and that was what made him betray Sakayanagi. Hashimoto had shown an amazing adaptability by his skill to make connections with a lot of people, but he didn't seem to have any remarkable talent other than playing chess, so I will put him in tier B. The next character is Kido. Maybe because he rarely got screen time, I cannot put him higher than tier C. And like Hashimoto, he is loyal, has good physical ability, and is a surprisingly nice person to be around. Still, I cannot put him in a higher tier. He tends to get emotional with his enemy, and he has also never shown anything remarkable other than playing basketball. I hope we will see him more in the future. Next is Yamamura. Same as Kido, I cannot put her higher than tier C because she didn't show anything remarkable other than being invisible. She is so shy and cannot make any friends. She kind of reminds me of Sakura. I will put her in tier C and see what will happen in the future. Morishita was introduced late compared to her classmates, but I will put her in tier B because she has already shown high capability of thinking that she often uses while playing games. She is also surprisingly perceptive, which was shown when she questioned Kei's relationship with Hirata or Ayanokoji intention when calling them to meet. Her character is unique and surprisingly enjoyable. She could even manipulate Ayanokoji to believe that there is something called the sound of the forest. She has the potential to climb higher in the list. And how about Sanada? I will put him in tier C. He is a typical model student who is kind, smart, and calm, simple, but boring. I think the member of the Sakayanagi class still has a lot to offer in the future, especially after Ayanokoji transfers to their class. There is a chance Sanada will become an important figure later. At least everyone will still have a screen time in the third year arc, and like Tatsuka, who will be placed in the don't care tier. And now let's move to Ichinose class. As for Ichinose herself, I used to think that she was a boring character. A beautiful girl who is trusted by everyone and holds the justice in her big heart is not my favorite type of character. She is great in a lot of ways, but I still didn't find her character charming. That's why I like her recent development where she started to step into the darker side. It is always enjoyable to see a good person get corrupted. I will put Ichinose in tier A because her ability alone is enough to bring her up there. Her corrupted side is just a bonus. The next one is Kanzaki. I already talked a lot about Kanzaki in another video, and I cannot even put him in tier D. He is just foolish and disappointing. He had the ability but failed to use it. Not just fail, he even put all the burden on Ichinose. Let's just make a new tier for Kanzaki at the very bottom of the list and stop talking about him. The next one is Shibata. When he was first introduced, he was described as an athletic guy, a member of the soccer club, VIP of the sport festival, and then he got forgotten.
I really have no idea what happened to Shibata after that. He just disappears. I once thought he would get the spotlight in the second-year sports festival, but his name is not even mentioned once. And then Kinugasa brings him back in volume 12.5 just to make him suffer. Poor guy, he didn't even have a proper illustration for himself, but I will still put him in tier D.
There are more students from the Ichinose class, but let me just be honest with you, I really didn't care about them. Himeno, Hamaguchi, Watanabe, Amikura, and Shiranami. Other than Himeno, all of them feel like the same character, and Himeno is not even that different. Maybe this is the side effect of Ichinose becoming the center of everything. It makes the other students lose their character. But the saddest thing is, I cannot see any chance in the future for them to develop more personality. For now, I will put them in the don't care tier. At least they are still better than Kanzaki. And then we move to Ryuuen class. As for Ryuuen himself, there is no other tier other than S. He is the first and still the best antagonist in the series. His chaotic personality and thirst for challenge are the reasons why Classroom of the Elite could gain a lot of popularity back in Volume 7. Ryuuen is perfect to be an antagonist, but he still shows a lot of room for improvement, especially after he tastes defeat against Ayanokoji. He became softer and less chaotic, but the new version of him is undoubtedly stronger than before. Ryuuen doesn't grow stronger alone. Right now, he has Katsuragi who becomes his second in command. After getting defeated by Sakayanagi, Katsuragi joined hands with Ryuuen, and they surprisingly make a good team with Ryuuen who attacks aggressively, and Katsuragi who prioritizes defense. Katsuragi is quite an admirable character. The way he left Class A showed a lot about his principles. He is also someone you could trust, and even if his achievement was below standard, I will put him in tier A. Next we have Ibuki. She was introduced as an annoying character, but the more we learn about her, the more we realize that Ibuki is actually a cute and childish girl. Her interaction with Horikita was sweet, even though it didn't mean a lot. I want to put her higher in the list, but tier B is the best I could give her. Ishizaki also deserves to be placed in tier B. He is not smart, not very strong either, but his loyalty to Ryuuen deserves a thumbs up. Even though he was introduced as a delinquent, he had already become a fun guy who spoke his mind honestly. Ishizaki was changing for the better. On the other side, Albert didn't show any change at all. However, Albert didn't need to change. For some mysterious reason, it's always fun to read all the Albert scenes in the light novel. He might have only muttered less than 10 words throughout the series, but his attitude and everything just make you want to be friends with him. I cannot explain why, but I will put Albert in tier B. Next we have Kaneda, the smart guy of Class C. He might be the least developed character from the Ryuuen class because of his little screen time, even though he should be one of the most important students because of his academics. There is nothing much to talk about him, so I will put him in tier D alongside the other disappointing character. Next is the best girl Hiyori. I want to put her in tier S, but objectively speaking, Hiyori doesn't really contribute to the story. She sometimes helps Ryuuen with the exam, but with Hiyori's ability to think, she should be able to contribute more. She was able to guess that Ayanokoji had a hand in Ryuen's downfall, and she could calm Tokito down with her words, but because she doesn't like conflict, she chose to just read a book in silence. It's a shame, but I will put her in tier B. And last we have Tokito the rebellious guy. There is nothing much to talk about. He dislikes the way Ryuuen leads the class, and he is doing a good job as the opposition. He is actually an interesting character who is brave enough to oppose Ryuuen, but because of a lack of achievement, I will put him in tier C. The other characters such as Nishino and Manabe will be placed in the don't care tier. And finally we reach Horikita class. I know a lot of people dislike Horikita, but I enjoy Horikita development as a person and as a leader. Horikita might be the character with the most development, which is shown by the number of times she smiles in her illustration. She doesn't lack any academic or physical ability, and she has Kushida to cover her social ability. I want to put him in S, but she still has a long way to go, so let's just put her in tier A. Hirata is a good character with impressive ability in every aspect. He cares for others and is willing to sacrifice himself as long as his classmates don't get hurt. However, he is naive and indecisive. He wants to treat everyone as an equal, and that's why he cannot make a necessary decision when the time comes. One wants to see Hirata get more development, but right now I will put him in tier B. Kushida is definitely a complex character. A lot of people didn't like her dual personality, but I think the way she behaves is realistic and understandable. She just wants to become the best in one aspect, but her talent is just not enough to let her achieve it. She could become the greatest ally and the greatest threat, and if it's not for Ayanokoji, she should be able to expel Horikita, but Kushida always got bad luck because her opponent is way out of her league. This might be controversial, but I will put her in tier A. Koenji is definitely the embodiment of freedom and selfishness. He has the ability to rule the school, but refuses to play because he realizes an adult shouldn't compete with the kindergartner. His character is well written and consistent, not to mention he is a funny guy even though he didn't mean it. Interesting things always happen no matter when he appears, and he will definitely play a bigger role in the third year arc, so Koenji definitely deserves to be placed in tier S. Kaorizawa Kei, the former heroine. She is definitely one of the most popular characters in the series, but the way I look at it, Kei development already stopped at the second year. Her role was to become the textbook of love for Ayanokoji, and her role is already fulfilled. She didn't contribute much in the second year, and only in the latest volume did she manage to be free from her parasitic nature. Even though she is a very well-written character, I will put her in tier B. Sudo is definitely the best character in terms of character development. The guy who used to get last place in the exam is no longer to be seen. Sudo is now a popular guy with outstanding overall ability and a well-built personality. His growth shocked the whole school, even the teacher praised him for it. For all his effort, I put him in tier S. Yukimura used to be the opposite of Sudo, who was all muscle. However, Yukimura didn't have any improvement in his physical ability, but he still grew as a person. He is no longer looking down on people, and he also tries his hardest to contribute to the class. I will put him in tier B. As for Yukimura friend, I don't have a lot of comments for them. Haruka and Akito's character was stable and only fluctuated when Sakura got expelled. In my opinion, their revenge arc was solved too easily. It will be interesting if Haruka becomes someone like Hashimoto, who sold his own class. I will put Haruka and Akito in tier C. As for Sakura, her last scene almost made me cry. She was just a normal girl who could not find the courage to confess her feelings. She might be a bit boring, but the way she accepted her fate showed enough love that it shouldn't be wasted on someone like Ayanokoji. Sakura might be just a C-rank character, but the way her story concludes makes me put her in tier B. Matsushita is one of the most disappointing characters in Class D. She was hyped in volume 11.5, but that hype just faded away without any fulfillment. Even though she is smart compared to the rest of her classmates, she failed to put more flavor into the story. I will put her in tier D alongside her fellow disappointing characters. Sato is a bit tricky to rate. She was originally just a stepping stone for Kei to realize her feelings, but in the second year arc, Sato's feelings for Ayanokoji still didn't fade away. It was just after Yagami expulsion that Sato managed to arrange her feelings and support Kei with all her heart. Sato's role is now changed to become the lover best friend, and it was nice to see her always be there for Kei in the hardest time. I will put her in tier B. Ika is also deserving of being placed in tier B. It might not be so much, but he has become a bigger man in his own way. Started with accepting his feelings for Shinohara and trying to study so he will not become a burden for his class. Ika's position might be the worst among his classmates, but he accepts it and earnestly tries to improve. It might not be relevant to talk about Yamauchi, who already got expelled, but Yamauchi didn't deserve the amount of hate that he got. Yes, he might sacrifice Ayanokoji for his own safety, but if we look at his situation, his action is understandable. Just like any other student, Yamochi wants to graduate from Class A, and the Class Bowl exam is definitely a nightmare for students like him who were hated by the others. The fact that Sakayanagi offered him help must feel like a miracle for Yamochi, so he ended up trusting her blindly. I didn't like Yamochi, but I didn't think he was that bad as a character, so I will put him in Tier C. Mizuno also got expelled because she betrayed the class. However, her case is different. Even after she saw what happened to Yamochi, she was still going on a date with Hashimoto and even feeding him with a lot of secret information. When Yamochi only harmed Ayanokoji, Mizuno brought harm to the entire class. Mizuno deserves more hate than Yamochi, and her final action that prioritizes herself instead of the class makes me put her in the same tier as Kanzaki. There is no greater shame than that. As for the other characters such as Michan, Shinohara, and Anodera, I didn't really have any comment on them. Michan is boring, Shinohara is annoying, and Anodera will become a suitable girlfriend for Sudo, but I will put them in the don't care tier. And the last one is none other than Ayanokoji. There is actually no need to measure Ayanokoji. After all, if the main character is not great, there is no way the serialization could survive this long. Ayanokoji character had been a topic of debate for some time, because even after 2 years of high school experience, there is no visible change that appears in the Ayanokoji character. He had a change of goal, but the personality that he got from the White Room is still intact inside of him. Ayanokoji is not a complex character as long as we understand his past and his way of thinking. The White Room killed all his emotion, so he only relied on his logical thinking to make a decision. Ayanokoji used to pursue an ordinary life without any trouble, but ever since Volume 11, he decided to leave his presence in the mind of everyone who knew him. For that, he prepared the stage for everyone to grow their potential so they could fight and finally defeat him. That's why he does whatever it takes to maintain the competition between the 4 classes, even if it's cruel and questionable. Without Ayanokoji, there will be no classroom of the elite. He is definitely an S-tier character, but I thought he is even more than that. So I will make another tier just for Ayanokoji at the top. Of course, there is a lot of personal feeling in this tier list, so feel free to disagree.